Hi, you all. Happy last week of January. Getting even closer to warm weather. I'm getting excited. Okay, for ELA this week, you're working on prefixes. So co, con, im. What do those mean? You're just going to drag the arrow to the correct meaning for each prefix. For your synonyms and antonyms, remember if the words are the same or nearly the same, they're synonyms. If they are opposites, they are antonyms. You're going to be reading to figure out the meaning of the words coexist and immature. For Multiplication Monday, you have a word problem. So read it carefully. Remember that pairs mean two. For your fact family, the fact family needs to be with multiplication and division. Remember, multiplication has two factors that make a product. The factors are the smaller numbers, the product is the larger number. I cannot speak today. And then division starts with the bigger number and then puts things into smaller groups. So division starts with the big number, multiplication ends with the big number. True or false? Is this division equation correct? Remember, you can do the inverse to figure it out. Is 5 times 6 36? If it is, then it's true. If it's not, then it's false. You are going to be listening to the story Ruby's Wish. After you've listened to the story, answer the question, how is Ruby's life different than yours? Can you relate to her struggles? So you're going to notice this is a two-part question. You need to make sure you're answering both. So how is Ruby's life different than yours? So you're going to name one way that Ruby's life is different. And then the second question is, can you relate to her struggles? So think about what she struggles with throughout the book. Is that something that you struggle with as well? Or is that something that you do not struggle with? And then once you've decided whether it is a struggle or not, tell us why. Okay, after you've listened to the story and you've answered those questions, you're going to be looking at interactions of characters. So how they talk to each other, even facial expressions. If you look at illustrations closely, you are analyzing characters. We look at what they do, how they respond to conflict. So when there's a problem, how do they react? And what are they thinking? We also look at how they interact with other people in their lives. So we're looking particularly at Ruby and her grandfather. And then you're going to choose a trait. So there are some traits over here to the right. You can click on the anchor chart and pull the corner to make it larger, or you can go the magnifying glass to see better. But those are some words that you can choose from. Do not choose the words that are at the top with the gray background. Those ones are primary words. We want you choosing synonyms for those words underneath. So one character trait that describes Ruby, and then evidence from the text. So I know this word describes Ruby because what did she do in the text? What's something she said? How do you know that character trait describes her? And then you're doing the same thing for her grandfather. So one character trait for each character, and then evidence from the story to support that trait. Not only do we understand characters through their actions, we also understand characters through dialogue, what they say to other people. So dialogue is when a character is talking. Dialogue can help us make predictions, can also help us understand a character. So I have two things that Ruby said, two things of dialogue, and one thing that Grandpa said, her grandfather. So Ruby said, I'd rather go to university. So what character trait describes this statement? Is she a lazy person? Is she motivated? Is she friendly. Think of a word that would describe somebody who strives to educate themselves, even when she didn't have to have an education. In fact, it wasn't very common for women to be educated at her time. And then another thing she said is, you take good care of all of us. So what does that tell you about her based on the words she said? Then also focus on the grandfather. So you'll have to flip a switch in your head for a minute and focus on him. I really would like to know why you wrote this poem. So what word describes that dialogue? So think back to the moment in the book when he says that to Ruby. Think about how she reacts. What does that tell you about her grandfather? What character trait would you use to describe him in this moment? Okay, and then after you have spent a little time with character traits, we're going to look deeper at some of the vocabulary used in the book. You have the words flickered, somber, summoned, gulping, prosperity, impressed, insisted, and gaze. So if you've heard of any of these words before, read through the definitions. Some of them you're going to be familiar with. Then you're just going to drag and drop the word into the correct place. If you're not sure about a definition, you can go to Tools and Dictionary and look up the word, and then move it to the correct location, depending on the definition. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to read about Chinese New Year. So there are a few different pages you're going to read through. After you've read through all of the pages about the Chinese New Year, you are going to write 3 facts that you learned. I also want to let you know that Chinese New Year this year is Friday, February 12th, and it's actually a day off for you all, not because it's Chinese New Year, but because it's the Friday before parent-teacher conferences. So if there's something that you read that would be fun to do with your family on your day off, I encourage you to try it out. So I hope you all have a great last week of January, and we'll see you on Tuesday.